Idane or Teso, for us to feel and understand, there must be an understanding. Whom do we represent? Do we represent ourselves? No, we keep on talking. So, Ariko told it to continue being on top, and maybe one day, there must be a uniting factor, non-political, and that should be Antukoto Teso. No matter of the challenges, we need to understand that Araida Buganda during the the Arab trade, the slave trade, the missionaries, name them. There were challenges even in Buganda. So Buganda, using the subjects. The numbers is a you talked about the influence. You can have the influence. Nobody know on the ground. On the ground. It is only cultural institutions that influence the ground, while the political head influences the center. So there must be a deliberate attempt to support Ichu. I don't speak for Ichu. Political parties, you can be suspended from the political party. Even President Museveni today can wake up and say, Babalupo, this is a reshuffle. In fact, he is the safest person in this position. I mean, Honorable Anita, who is elected as a Speaker of Parliament, but positions that you appointed, anytime the man can wake up and say, you must leave. Now the institution comes up and asks the president, the culture to speak and defend you. Failure for us to organize array to build the economic base. Kada ina interest or aquatat ajauti kuju. Doma mupelorete to use their offices ega ngaini tunga economic integration. Ega ngaini tunga to acquire scholarship for continuity. Anwi tunga apaikini. Jamu no be kwananyo napito as a senior journalist. There must be another strong young journalist to take up Kwanenyo Alupo. But if the region remains economically vulnerable, people who will stay on top are power brokers. So Yongo, I support, yes, we must remain in the region, Agogo. But the mother that can unite all of us, it is a cultural institution. Nesi even to fundraise money and defend the interests of Teso and defend the interests of Teso as a sneak group. The hospitals were built a person of independence. Kopan, the hospitals are standing with all the influence Ijataroni. Isirigila compensation, attacking. So we need to understand that influence moves with the livelihood. A man who has a V8, I will say, I will say, Musomi, Mama Joke, say, Joko Jele Jatarike Gali Leguilit, and they finally put a motokalusi pay you. Oh, you don't mame motoka. So we need to understand, Icholin have moved a step because they have the fallback, position where they negotiate. Even Busoka and Penny, a Jakiro. Ikuru Nukada Gane recently, la Seona, or Museveni, meeting at the Basoka elders, and assured them Bibako Kusmamanos at so Arikoton are piking to stay on top of the game. It may not be Orodongo Lasio, Benson, myself, but for the future generation to understand, let's move out of the sinking baby to Mamon Koledu Mutamamon, the kingdom. Numbers speak. If they want to organize rain, more people will go on top. It will be actually a replacement. Banyoulo, Abulo, Abulo from 1962. Iriko ni jaiko de itunga pugani. Iriko sita separate otugo iluanya. Iriko siro tine hono. Irikeja utene herono. What has gone wrong with the vice president, with the army commander 1962, with the attorney general in 1966, with the current speaker now, with the current ministers? What do we link? The missing gap or the missing link is authority and the local people. Kidding ne kere e ururi. Mami tunga if feeling aete. Area where the vice president comes from, there must be economic change. Area where the speaker is the fifth influential person. Vice president is the second. but if you cannot influence itungadu kuna tukot usota chamo, if you cannot influence the welfare of your people, I think the positions may not influence the economy. Nara here are not useless. Around few individuals, ibun bobo ndane mwache nel maybe 40 years ago mojongtoni be Teso no bobo 100 years of independence. Again bobo nene by Jekolo vice president, the same story. But Jekolo Cholin, the same story. So for me, Charles, I want to remain with my idea that the only way the federal name kicking jacket Benison, we can belong to different institutions and belong to different political parties, but there must be a fallback position. Lay pedori to summon all of us and say Kwani Ekwe is under attack. What do we do?
Okay.
Yalama.
Thank you. Chairman Ngora. You know, this discussion will bring a lot of questions to ourselves as Iteso. But again, the answers should be provided by us, Iteso. Because if you look at the discussion now, you do even realize that there are people who are supposed to be by now to give accountability to the people of Teso. That you see, for us, those days, this is what we brought to Teso. And now when you look at the leadership, as Moses is saying, Ebe Enga Nonelo Teso, what have we achieved? We had the army commander, we had the ministers, and that is then. Even now, we have oppositions. Somebody is third in command, fifth in command, ministers, second in command. And in the next generation, we are supposed to make accountability to our people. That what have we done? What did we do? What went wrong? What are the positives and the negatives that we should be able to tell our people? Thank you.
Yalamane. Akoto berenga isi yalami kene. Ayaito ki radio. Keda jo a host. Keda kana channel weja ase o studio. Keda senior silu weja ase online. Malata te kere timiti lu etwa kiatos. Engo dongo lasi yo chapasonelo si 5 longora.
Yes.
Yalamane.
Ebo.
Akotongo aidoko kina kiradisa. Chumatina chana kironu ipo. Kwenye do kono aidoko ina kiradisa. Kono nga agia uno keda be. Oni kwa pa te kere na Iteso. Akoto tunga ilipio ni Iteso kere lui jai. Kwa pa kolong. Nara jini rere ngi Teso jasa tutume na kere. Nwa kwa pa kolong. Kotongo tibere ona temereba. Ibu beri bunioni kwa pa te kere ni Teso. Dobo aibo ijayoni kopokani. Dobo aibi kotona low city. In terms of progress. Aibi bunioni, aibi jayoni, dobo aibi kotona low city kwa patekere. Inyo boja la kinoni keda turina didi. Kovoko ane, to be very honest, ete ngobe nyakuna okatekere. Nyakunu na arai, erai kwa none ijara awate. What do I mean? Berai joda aredu monache kai benisona ke kiration su ke nesida iboni. E chichingoni kwa pate kirabunera ibu makina kanini. You can trace history. Kidioko instances. No epone ati Teso aibu makina kanini. Awanyono be ejakuno ikeze tueto kelebu. Instead ipuo ni luichi eringainoi. Anubo inyo balarango kwa ini. Nara I think ni igigito ni political affiliations. Konyi ischie sana mamuo ni kota igweki ni politics osep. Era dongita kiro. So nara if you trace oko history lo Uganda. Eja Teso ne petai apuga nase anu kere. Agia unu chutine nera nano nacho na pitoba. Agia unu no musugu na upasi Teso keri musugu. Ikama papo boteda. Aja Teso boro. Even the papa mini da aja Teso boro. Do itutongo noi obote 1 obote 2.
Yes.
Even a mean. Obote papo bote ebu Teso o pupi joki ala matari Teso aja ngorangi na aja se ngama kionu a kesa somara ai sude chadoi keda muna jon nuebu nelo pakwa pa mata kopoka ni de ndero no Teso ni eja keke oni oke ngari no kolu chute go akina ne ja puga ari kotoje message kona dolere ne ja president Museveni eja so ne ngare no kolu ipedo rija atenyon o tawlo foso rodilo ijene tesi jeno jena kwa fukere itoro jone ja ito tacham dolo takira kiriti idolo jo bokede ane ja deputy speaker puvyo be kireta kiriti de jelo elo fakwa akese polo be kopoka ni nero ni de jasi Teso bore jasi konye mame oni engare no etaulo idulo kina no anu ai keonu ijodi koni tungenen embame neni kotorberoni kwape engare no ka geonu ba ai keuna pukurate kera konye neni nese jawo kationu sune polo no narai yejo arijasi jokede dunyete lo jana mamu imure muria mami yalama narai na soditi akona kokori nesebune nyam ikoni kulukulu no nesebune nyam ikoni mairo digwe shiri jodula nesebune kona i amudar so akuto chuti oni kwa pe Teso ajala kiniberi chibora geutube ipone verani dukuni oni da nare kovuka noni Teso by the way mami iboreni te beroni be iboreni nese susu to lo Teso erai do ne tepedo ai kaikina so mi boro kiere konyi iloto jo Buganda esiposi kwike kese muanyi ari biru ne bei are do kari kuju oje bere muanyi ne edapa etaichi eboro kwa penateta yeti nyo kwa ene adolo toku adoke taite na egwel arate tagete araide maroge on fresh I de gweki the quality le jok oyangare den tebe odoli London iloto jo London lumunu je etagete li nyongita yo jok iloto fufungi iloto jo Canada da lumunu jo je luombo ja isi hotelin lu iriamu nosi ichioli nari langoi kedi mo anyami nyamata kese lu hotel lu atutu bena kese re malakanya re nyo ne peto masete even kese jon lira mital di dis anubo nyo be jo kerbore na ibumakina o di loto jo Kampala idumo je Teso tinera Teso dojo bona ci yoga ber abaje mo ngajeni ifubujo agire to etele jena Teso be mame jeni nyobe ya onete mun echepa kiborolo ipo akese polo be kara ide jase ko ngare noko bere ko pokani positions ngunu lui kote ipu kwenye koto na ge ona iduka tekiro kwa aneji duwe e balakiro to be edoliti ja aiduku ikoku ene dit itia etungene la dawo ai pagaga are kitoilo le epolo ngone se pedori ja kon nara kopoka ni iteyo engo ajario ngo chalo ibi anapaki ne uru alama kwa bukere muro na kwa bukere corona isenta silu didik toni ikoku yeni ikari do pete da jai idwe lu didi kisani kanyeri kidwe ikosi eto center idwe lu didi so ngisiti do ba hibe jasa uriak narai oni nese beta itetenare doe e jabera kiro no e corona ko yillo setidu alusit akese polo be dawona chama ina atekera bilibilun narai oni Teso mamdo ngajen be nyobi ko painoni wokodoe ipone sholo arokoko ejautene la rononi ara ibubiai na ara itejo ko pokale situation wo e dongi to si chani Teso ne bakai idara bere jo pukoro isemero I just sabiti je Tolomoni ti Makere University iduelu lu betalo sasiomani do tachapuga ne peta Teso kere idio poto o chinguno so scholarship so
Mamedolta kaisaka.
Mamedolete
Less than 50.
Mamedolete kaisaka.
And that is the government
Actually,
in the country na ejitu ngale poloko. In your region, I would even question the criteria. As long as igiri.
So ite jobe kidioko 50 po bere bonguno da. Era kanya this.
The highest is Jeresa with over money.
Yes, so ite bere joko semero lo atesi dopit. Kwenye loto je semero o Kampala ngina. Akwatare kidikie. Akesebolo be iboro ngono itodi kini oni be there is something wrong. Nara karu lo ye kina ngapugane scholarship ko. E itutu an iso a diploma scheme bere nara to so mai so a diploma entry 178 Iteso. But it is this that you know mamu tunge genetic information. Akesepolo be kara mamu oni ibu ni chutai mora kiro kapate kere. Nara if you reflect back aparasi angon eja kaiti lo etela atutubet are eja kaiti ija kitetete na ngosi bibi beja abe ebuni le etela irimori adumu jolo mami regite roto adumu jolo mamu erela ara ilo mami temono ite pabo jok ija yo chani.
Okay. Chairman, we are now heading to the second hour, that is 3 o'clock. Abuna Adumunu Benson after this while.
It's 3 p.m. Agentone sawaka lo ngesinum jo MTN. Itosoma pointa na konuka MTN senchu. Osodijo adumuna minat luka titai. MBs luka titai. Arai messages luka titai. Ichika star idopetu ongon dopet hash. Oseku use points. Osodi atupaki unitubitai. Teteri dumuni aina kinede kon naka senchu.
Everywhere you go, MTN.
Well, hebo ateker program wokongon Teso gang tino santo monado pelu atibong. Lolo wuto na inenu we come to see how influential have Teso been in government since independence. Akepolobe wuto na ireonokin, wuta oni apukor ka ireonokin. Ebe aiba aja Teso, doba ibe ja Teso. Where were their voices? Aiba pupereri no inera Teso. In terms of development kede governance, keda achia kirosini Noda Epidota Kamna Teker. Benson, let me have some 10 minutes, like any other person with you. Anwa Ireki Nakron. Nara Ireki Kwanajo, the discussion that our people have given again, Jakaite Komoloit, Jakaite Sudu, Moses Ochola, the Chairman 5, you really realize that Mambo Nebe Talim Nebe were not somewhere. We were somewhere. We were visible somewhere, whether visibility by show that someone is there, but you don't command things behind you. And somebody would also say that even if when you look at representation itself, we moved even if you look at the firearms, we see the police, prisons, and so on. But we had even people in Legico. We had the women representatives. But someone will still question himself, Ebe, is it that we failed to package ourselves? Or somehow, somewhere, the situation was bad for us? Yes.
This is an interesting discussion. I think when I look at it as a Kapateke,
you can lower it down a bit.
Yeah.
Yes.
I get on a parasano independence. First of all, what were the rallying points for independence? Uganda, what were the rallying points and how were Iteso interested in it? So the British, the British, they colonized virtually the whole world. They broke off from the Great Roman Empire. And then when they broke off, they now decided to revenge by colonizing the whole world. If you know what happened in the early centuries, when the Great Roman Empire actually broke down the British, they conquered, I'm told the first Roman emperor to conquer there, he reached there and he destroyed the boats after landing. And he told Ketumbe John Ejie Pakaikonakina. Mama Kerry. And they were able to subdue the British. But later on, the British came back and they colonized the whole world. Why? How were they able? They were using two important principles. Principle one is that a colony or a protectorate must sustain itself. Mama koto is bora abunero or musugun abunerai angarana ipugeso. You must generate the required wealth and the resources to sustain Eborengon. Then number two, they believed in a lean government, but effective, lean and effective government. Next stage, I was recently looking at a documentary. The whole government has only, if you imagine security agencies, government has only 187 vehicles. Luapugan. Yeah? On Berene, Butusi district and Icheko, so why? So now that's when they came to Uganda, they introduced the cash crops in 1905. They introduced cotton, even food today Linero and Maido was not originally our thing. Target Linero was brought from Jamaica. Iboemwani, all that you see. Because they wanted Boroluaya so that the local economy could grow. And it's true by 1941. Teso were the only two communities in East Africa that supported the British in the First World War, Second World War. We contributed, actually we gave a loan of 16,000 pounds. Epolo Nedwaru, those days when we talked to him, he confirmed it to us. And we also paid a visit to the British ambassador by then. And he was shocked and he looked at it and he actually wanted to use it that time. So I mean that's a discussion for another day. So it is economically well placed. It is the only ones during when who refused to form a kingdom. We formed what we call Teso local administration. We refused kingdomship. We wanted to establish a self-governing system rooted on democratic principles. So you can see. So when that happened, by 1962, economically we were well placed. We are the second largest producer of cotton in the country. We're the ones feeding in Nitel. We are the largest shares of the largest shares in Nitel. You can attest this to Papa Elangot, who was representing us there as shareholders, and that was Teso. We were very influential when you go to economy. Our local economy was strong. We are the largest producers of beef, and that's why the factory was located here. Ilosija lo erokoje dolo na maojolo. That the first corner be na mayanja na matamba. That first corner on. Ulojo na maojolo. Nenare center lo imolo konyo. In 1982. Kalo le rare na maojolo center la amuro sinuinyo. Na kokore. Nena paiki neti basi ni kere. Tono li paiki jo na matamba nenda. Dumuje jaete suneni sui. To Salupok. I even know a chief magistrate whose home is there up to today. So we're controlling business. We're there. We're very influential in terms of economy, in terms of governance. We're the most effective, to the point that in 1953, when Winston Churchill came in, he pointed out something about Teso. Now I was shocked. Every officer hallucinacy at Teso. The most influential interpreter was Teso. No doubt when it came to lowering down the Union Jack and raising the Uganda flag, Teso was part of it. So, but he mentioned something which still disturbs me up to today. That kade chobe Teso, kade kokoraka, kade munoko, akeche tunis adopebon. Because he was shocked a lot on his office. They jang the bank. Ngai kon chole. Do ngai jenjo leje office ke mama ngai jeni. And he was shocked to say how can one who's in this ministry mame jeni
does not connect to the other.
Then he said, Bonebe, if it is one their problem, they are incapable of sustaining their culture and their unity. And for that matter, it will disappear as a tribe in 300 years' time. That is the prediction of Sir Winston Churchill. So let me see, what did we try to do? And indeed, up to today, that's the problem. Oltoberejo Kampala na mamerite sejene narada. Yeah? Ejaberichi Moreto office that they don't know each other. Forget about a general choling. But even in
the origin, knowing the origin.
Even interacting. It did about a relate. I was in Kayunga. There are 3 LOC richer persons in Has Iteso. We form 11% of the population of Kayunga district. 11%. Any be an aduku in the kingdom, they are only 5 benyo bodu. Do aduku ne ribe anajakantagna. They are only 4%. Udukuna tajakan. It is 11%. And we are in LOC richer persons.
Including Buvuma to provide you information.
You go to Bunya County. The whole of Bunya County, Idumanjo Teso. So what happened in the first government? Why did we seemingly look stronger? And I think for me, those are the lessons we need to learn. Because I put on an SBAS Brigadier Polot, in a rest Papa Buangor, a Jaitunga, then in the Bote 1, Bote 2, we had a Papa Nyote, we had a Louis Po. So, but why, how come that we're able to do something? And I think this report, there were 3 strong factors helping these guys. Number 1, they knew that to influence government, you must influence policy. That is the thing. Lualolo, they don't bother about influencing policy. They are looking for handouts. Ben what I think you were a keraro re. Qui agente qui ponebe ikoto yang right to make job. Change government what? That's why, for example, if you looked at education policy by then, asio manena langin no kwap no kuju from tertiary institutions to no universities. It was this talk of sponsorship was a remote sponsorship by day was only if you wanted to go and study outside Uganda. That's why Papa Anyoti was a chairperson of Independence Scholarship Fund in 1982. What was it for? Ijoli kota lostai. Like now, those people who benefited even in the 70s. So, this is scholarship business. Out of 4,000, it is why should we sustain a policy which makes government look like a business, like an NGO? In a public university and you are sponsoring, why do you call it a public university? Why? Sponsorship should be if you are taking me to a private school and the government you are paying. So in that time, those of Obuangori, those of influenced policy, and they say our farmers are struggling, they are still building wealth, they are still doing this. So you got only Nelangiri showman, Nelangiri or business, Nelangiri amukian, apuganayangari. And it happened. And most of the current leaders benefited. Those of Museveni, they benefited. Those of Rukahana Rugonda, the guys today who are talking about scholarships, actually were in public universities. And public meant public. So, leaders who are Pakiangun, they were influencing policy. Leaders who are Lolo, they are lobbyists. Elosete by more. And you are overpowered. You know, government work through a policy framework. Don't they chakanjo they do a can. Tomorrow don't be shocked if they will come to say, even those Akaisa can see Juni. Why should your work be a June? You change government policy. And then everything. So that is one thing. The second thing was that
you can summarize for now. Then we shoot on
Teso, Poloko by then they were persons of integrity. They were not. I don't want to use a very unfortunate word, but people call it bootlickers. They were not blind loyalists. I think that's a better word. In Ngolajo Brigadier Polo, he refused to commit Ugandan army into an illicit, illegal insurrection in Eastern Congo. He actually warned the president, he was dismissed for insubordination, but in 1982, Obote came and apologized to him in Mukura. Said, if you're a man of integrity, you're a principal, you had Uganda at heart, you advised me, I ignored you, I removed you and put this man, who easily got used by the British and I was knocked off. I regret, I apologize. Museu Guangor stood on principle. And when he refused in 1968, he was arrested. So I only do my so let's go on the principle. Most of them have become blind loyalists. Or don't know right only little somehow balakate. Little somehow to achieve by somebody to achieve a certain political interest. But in Teso so did. They were principled. A relationship Apugan was based on principle. And Uganda was fast. It was not based on blind loyalty.
Okay,
that's
now,
why they were
Benson, maybe a quick one.
I think those are the lessons our leaders
fine,
Lolo.
Fine, but somebody will also ask you then, what then changed the trend? Because now if we had that circle of leaders who were principled and they were straightforward, they could stand for their people. And we had also people who came in there to fit into their shoes. What went wrong? Was there a broker, there were missing gaps between.
I think that one I can answer. There are a number of factors. If you read a lot of books on the community psychology and the change of societal character,
why wouldn't these people fit into that?
One of them is that if a society becomes subjected to a certain deafening conditions, if I subjected you, Ocholelo, then I Diana Sitora, Chokisho, Konai, or Pasakedam. Alemuno man in the Beja, Korquadanga, carried. So one of the conditions, one of the things Teso went through, you remember we have gone through stressful situations, subjugation for a number of years. There was a mass raiding, mass insecurity in the region. And then most of you grew up in the camps and urban centers. Right from 1980, problems started emerging in Teso. By 1980, the raids had intensified. When Ameni collapsed, Ikoromonyo went to work with the guns. And we started getting, then there was a collapse in the economy. The cotton were relying so much. The infrastructure that had been built collapsed. People slowly gravitated into survival mode. And no doubt, therefore, if they are on the survival mode, you can excuse them. So I think the society went through a lot, and it needs a lot of our effort, a joint effort, to rehabilitate. Somebody said the corruption causes 3 types of behavioral distortions. The first one is what they call the blunted effect, where people begin to glorify the corrupt. Arema mujiso monti, generally corrupt, duku to go within what they call you sharp. Then the other one is what they call the broken bridge in ethics. So this one where people begin to think bad things are normal. There's a man who went to UK, Kedwe, and the children were used to pothole the roads in Africa. Edolong na basido paper rocky road in Illinois. A rocky road in Illinois.
Okay.
And for them, the roads in UK were bad. No bucket were what? benari lo si joto mi ngai te jo jangete mam joto rikonai.
Oh.
So those are behavioral distortions in society, which has also affected our leadership.
Yes, I know we'll bring you at a later time, Bobo. Koko sawa, narai jauno sawa lo yarit otomo program waka. Kota nga bongo neja eja kait onapto ekomoloit to bring us through, because we really want to understand. Ajanati points lo abungeso ya utebe. Even when we were fighting as Iteso, we were trying to see that maybe we could be having regime change where possibly Tionida would be decision makers to ourselves. But someone will also ask, what really dismantled the cohesion? Because apotapu ganasha nguni biroro sopote jita sotoma biro no poni bunia, and then we needed to see our people doing something good for us. Okay, yes, I still want to bring Eja Kaitona up to Ekomoloit on board. Inerti na nija chia kiroido achamutengo be pupo kijo katupakinu inerata other panelists lulo lo Eja stomo program wakola Teso gang. Ebe aja saini ngosha anwa pototere ikinoskeda Iteso. Ido ichatungana ndabubo kwa pangine pupe program eperaja utukeda ingi seta. Ebe dobodokwa na if we had good leaders then Neroni limono kese kirora. And we had also a set of leaders who went in then. And also we have a lineage of leaders of our people somewhere, to the even extent that we are almost agreeing that we cannot say Kopokwanabe Iteso are not somewhere. Iteso are somewhere. Visibility is a problem in the way we make policies, decision making, and to plow back something good for our people.
Chumchumati tungane vakalete zove ai chumo madam kwakro no alimun no erazi ke rapage no idito no alimun de jaka ito chole nikamutos agogo na itungana ne japugani mere o Uganda bona disko pukere apugani rai negotiated aja orkeda agogo apugani rai negotiated soon
No, we shall bring you back on board. Let's try to check out on our connection mode, signals here and there. We shall be able to bring Eja Kaitona up to in a short while. Kedoko program.
This is Voice of Teso, 88.4, the people's choice.
It's amazing how delicious tip-top bread tastes.
Tip-top bread, add it again.
Tip-top bread is the oldest brand in Ugandan market, established in 1956 with a range of products including different flavors of loaf, buns, mandazis, and much more. Tip-top is certified by UNBS and comes in different colors like white bread, premium bread, brown, red, soft cake, and salt bread for those who don't take sugar. Find us at our main bakery in Jinja or our branch here in Soroti, located in Oderai, opposite Goshen Primary School, or call 0759 722 126. Tip-top bread.
You can bet and get paid using AbaBet with any phone, however small it is. No need for internet. All you have to do is dial *185*60# on Airtel to get the AbaBet menu that you can use to register yourself on AbaBet. Place bets, deposit into your AbaBet account using Airtel Money. Withdraw your winnings to Airtel Money at any time, day or night, or so much more. With the AbaBet menu, *185*60#, you have access to unlimited games and betting options, all free of charge on your small phone. If you want to use internet, visit www.ababet.ug on your smartphone and enjoy the best betting experience. Always dial *185*60# on Airtel to bet with AbaBet, and you will not regret. Any phone works.
Get the MTN Kabode smartphone and pay Pola no stress. Dial *165 *5*2# to know if you qualify. Then rush to your MTN service center today and get the Kabode smartphone. Pay for it Pola at only 5,000 Uganda shillings per week for 6 months using MTN Momo. Terms and conditions apply. Everywhere you go, MTN. Be aware of conmen. Only accept calls from MTN on 0312 120 000. MTN is regulated by the Uganda Communications Commission. Reachable on 0800 222777. Toll free.
Yalamanwe abungun wailo agwela no ponangon ido atekeri uta loskero ko program Teso gang kakro Charles Sakeru ido tumo studios lolo John Kedaipejo keja kaite onapto Ecomoloid director legal and corporate affairs Nile Breweries, a seasoned journalist in the making and other platforms Luejana Kingesi Otoma Akwapoko Uganda. Ejakait Samson Esudu rengesilo eraikopokwa na ambassador Otoma tukotangina Katekeri International Development Organization. Moses Ocholane, our senior political analyst, Osodikini Ejakait Odongo Loasio LC5 Ngora, Benson Ekwe, Executive Director, Public Affairs Center, Uganda. Before we went in for that commercial break, I was trying to get in touch with Ejakait Onapto Ecomoloid, and to those who have submitted their takes on other platforms on Zoom, I will find an ample time to go through your messages. Otoma pakna nati ikotora domine feedback nada itengo dautitunga yaunu messages luegeregela ya utostunga umisho kecho pone sho luegeregela, but hey, you know, at a later time I will be able to bring on board ku submissions as well as shomakina take those luejasi toma kingana kwa puoko Uganda. Still back to Ejakaiti Onapto, we're still with you. Otoma Pakna Ilosiotoma network was not connecting all that well, but still, ikora dumunu kon our mission. Arai, jaunatije balabo nebe no really a polynerata kopokwa na itungani utasi teni pede toma omadang ajenu nebe. How are we going to forge a way forward for our people, Teso? Yes.
No atamta alimu na rasibe ukuponi kwa na joke.
Yeah, there you are. Peroberia niko akberio.
Charles.
Yeah, we are getting you. Ipupso jo chute joke kopokwa na ipupu da were tamtibera neko network.
Dobro kwa na kwa kisibai awo mitro be anu owaya le ngaro na nu Teso adomu ne poroto bobo ejaziti ipone shiwuni luto mawo edope pone nyesa kronu aito matoro ara ino ni operation ojin be mudi nera balo potunguni biroros no etu pagini zaito so misirigin ojende be ara ekotosesi ai kama rekoto mutano yapi nare jasi sirigin konyenu aomle pedorite so nyesi ainos duchu areje nyobe jasi jitunga ka ukon mame twani yene buni amwangite jo ara isili jo biai ara imam ngwaliti jo ara koni jai ejenyo be ngon ara nyini nyesi akon nyese protolitunga sao mitro be arera ibobo Teso tara nyo nukera chitibe e poroto le poni apoki e koto jenete be Teso luche e jasi kauke naro cholo lima betebe oni ariso lu jana kinapuga ijaikini jonari timokita ibore itimoki sema meje poroto itwale neja unozikede poroto iwanyoni no o Kenya nyesi todiko ne wanje twanti Odinga iwanje Odinga are rai ngai buna pugan mame buni aimwanga no dinga nare jenebe eli mo dinga akiro ijalu wono kere epupete webala so awmitengo ara mamu Teso tara Teso to ne buna jawnu kede poroto ka ngod mame poni aipu ijeno ni be yakufan kede to alwe langiri apugan esprit wale langiri konye juta ijena bit mame langi nari timo kitai konye aro jenetebe erai kesi nyesi ngara kitos apugana jaw nweli munete kesi mamuti yene pegaki seraido woni be o nite ziplepe nise koto achamun be an enotagnos be ronda nejido pe tungana yene ya apugan ara meji apugan do yene raune poroto do ngini yese pupio ara ngairo are buna apugan erai boni be mame mwangi ono bakazi Teso da jena apugan na ebe taja uno ngar no Uganda no ne nyo e polo ni se apugan era apugan na raunu ne ponio be ngaibo e pupi alaije ngabe pupi alailo do ngini yese kotoi oja yes do mesa sare ja uno Teso dake de twani ne genio be e petite so kere mami twani ngini no ke mwangi o mesa eli mu ba koto ngamuro e jakora kina muro akoto nge itutu e jakora kina itutu konyara mami Teso e chamuneta aseu nara jaun ke twani ka ngin ongara no ko Teso da jawd ke dingara no ko timonoki na timonoki e mame uno ne poroto o mesa so no apugan no apura ya lakin kesmu konye no kamundo sa pol alimunoi noi ala e chairman esiner no e chan don kerijeni chan lo Has Iteso kerawe dobo kolo nyobo e kidio ko richan narai akura kitunga anuiji sine anuinyo amunaro situnga omisho mambo bitunga ko sa ipup aichorio daneka ara mamu inyaka kino apugani no pop nebu na limo kinitunga ibore merai ngai alimo kinikera anye nube ara mamji so mai kepa kamuni je kiste no ine ngara no ko district a jokse jone do be chairman of panel wo e ko district councils o chamutu be ara eja idis gogo ine chama kise la ko kise iso maundu kise di kise la luja ikito woko tunga asomi boro lija ikito tunga yo no cha nara ara ida ejapu gani nerano kebe elosai Paris development model jo ara mami tuniso maiti bore otupitosi kisil mami so maiti bore otupitosi no aijene do ejo kekrano no rock mami chebore pota ikula kino Teso mami chana chipoke nyone to Teso nara raikopa nara de bu apu gani kore tunisiriki ara wenginto ane milioniti de chetu ana agaro ke milioniti ageonu ai boyo center ngini para ipona nyenyo ni twan ka ngino cha wangari chen luke millionit agweli ai tek aro uri ara tek so anu tunga som boro lu beta no anyu no chan ijazi rwanare na so de kutapu gari ngara oje tunga nandi ilo pe ekoroje ni bani be joka keda be rock sani twana ijene no joka keda no rock mamelo munbon otao ke ichesa ne koto obwikidete kuna ya tsoma kroso ngo obwikidete ijaka luna neron ke ba jasi jaka abwikiro sona somboro sendi munu be koto jola were ojai bore ni ngada kiti mami nyamari kere koto itwane somo e district no evra somboro ka ngun lwengi onda tsoma be lolo ara tepe do e jok odum do sti nyamari koto anyin be itwane ngada ti nyamari mama chama itaja gwela ringi bore kere ebe ara ni jai jotogo la anya ikote togo para la keja mwasine ebe oreko nda mamera kopio nyesi etiki ano adolere to mai iregare vere jota oreko nda ikoto je choloni munu kere illuminated apugan no district mamera we Kampala urelo se je chama longora ne akoto kinje apu bi nyobere piko to district aso by laws le pero ta rio retunga nari alimu ejaka ed benso ekwebe opportunity sine aja uto camp kera chekiro ija exitunga iri itu alwe poloktusi o kam aturina na adit panerasi auria do bu auria ta o kesi dwe so ipuibo lu eja ikisitu ngao misho ipangaro sawai ekodozi bobitu nga arioro so no kamu yalam
Yalamano Ejakaita Onapto, and let me bring Samson on board. Now the integration of Ateker International Development Organization to this program is something very, very important, and we really want to recognize the fact that you're together with us. Yes, Samson.
There are points lu jaikineto ni assessing kada icha na ibusa kenta som so aja akiro adisi no akotonga nyakari kau bere mo nese ja utenelo aja tarite so otoma doketa itina aibu makina keji konyedo kwa na dumuni jo itapito ni enerbon be iteso ras kesilu ne rasa musugunu noi einera musugun mamerai aswam na epero raisime ai me down on jeno ni boni beji Teso le pero sai ne ramusu gun ne rasi fluent konyo job konye ka ukeche munara so that gives us an understanding boni be there is something missing in between so adoketa itangin ise senone ja utenelo le busa kinitor Ateker International Development Organization elosi kinit otoma akelos kinete nesia nyunu boni be inono sine ilo marete kedai dules toma kirotono apol so idumu jo toma apolo na ijaroni idawana tiak kede iwoke no sine ara ipite ne walk so nese na tidokwa no ni mocha boni be ya ponali kwa ni dum none rara ne bakasibe awata ngini tweni boni imamedo kwa nane balar boni be oni kwa Teso so konyare arona losete kwa pe Teso tikwa ni boro kere ne ras boni be Teso nese dumu so esu sutulo au kapol anwalo site ngaren oto moja utene la kwana ajene ngaturi na kopa na kere na ipolo do right besio mitos ija limu na kirotone baka ibon be nono e bakasi be raine ni backward ara raina ichalo kitara luma meje nete ni be taswam konye rango sutulo kirot ara so polotora sine nari dumujo Ateker ni nu chiachi no akop sine anegelegela ijasi kede aruchokina to monono sine ikeji ijai kwa noni uwa miti boni be be Indians be ayanu so ike be nyonyo eruchokina to mo inono sine ikeji ara di Chinese luteo ni siarakina mun eruchokino inono sine ikeji dodo beroni nesi jayoni kada chaka na ipolo noi so ara ipudoni neso nage ono aiti gogong isusutu okolo Ateker ino boro chalo yara clan leadership structures aiti gogong structures in dodo eja ono akiroto no apolo no ime down oda streamlining aite ara itoritor neja apolo kolo Atekerin nara ilu apolo kolo Atekerin erikeja sikede apedorosio no enerike aruchokina kedi tunga keje lu Atekerani oruchokini kesa kuidoi ojasi kede command of respect erikeja eruchokina ardeja no aturina kwana ana atiaka kukede Atekerini keje konye eriko tioni sipeda aiti gogong adoketa itingin tetere apolo eruchokina kera kirono akwana idumuni jobone be toma o structures do kwa nangu epedorte to streamline on ni ajaut kede respect arai aiti gogongo e ape singoni lo pape mori dodo neni nese pattern kitoroni allo site to lobe at a national level erai doti kwa na pape mori lo doti epedoto sengare no ko kekere lo politicians ai toritora akeche umisha achie no mami chelu mame pedoto sa inere job e pedorte ti kwa na temar bon boke iso do kwa pe politicians pedor do kwa na ja ilo ingoto mo ponelo around kwa pe a cultural leader so ojai do ti agogo munen nen nesiti erai do kwa na ne ikono na ibongu no ni bonbe ida on parliamentary meetings ara inyo pangino ngar na ngina bong to beroni dai o e buma kino sverne je mor mor ainera akironu topolo etinyo kai boru lito somayoni konyi di dumu jo to ma parasianu ibore na muna kere nesi politicians alo site gwelet arai aita para umishona tumuna ara turina kwana kede sirgine lukumiti nyo kwa innocenta nani ada unubia na seo lui puko pana ejasi anyu ne ponelo tachana retinyo ni loni ni nyo lukole jayo anunyo e campaign so e gap do kwa nangon dodo lu ejasi tomada they are working hard anyu bonibe ejasi kwana kesa isoma unikapuna no ikona i atachana riloni and those are facts on the ground idugundo jo bonba I made down etena elo sineje tonga e raido ne itonga ite aparasha no campaign lipete do bonbe arebere bo iri me campaign dodo ne nesilo siaso camp ngina ai dar o center na ngina ai dara bonbe ngai toru ni ne kare motoka so our mindset has deviated from national or general benefit to individual benefit nare lote tongana na ijau ne lukumite matara ngina aberuka de do chala ngine jene so ibore ngine si asito ni anono kidini atoma apollo wo so ibue kwa na only do arucho kina ngino so the councillors law districts LOC5 chairperson areja unepone lo pedortores to push councillors law districts in eja une representation law cultural union or district council dodo thing unne se pelorte to agitate issues that matter for the culture and other things tetere si pelorte to accommodate in your planning also the same decentralizes to the sub county level and so on oja une representation law cultural law clan leaderships adoketa angono kere they will not be there as a politicians but they will be there as cultural leaders we pelorte to ajuka kironu kamuntosino a culture so ibore ngini inani doti kwa na rucho kina ngino jaunu ro boni be kidding na culture ke the political structures iboma kina also lete do SEO aturina kwana ngini na epedo region boja aturina kwana right now technology and so on ojaun the transitioning on you know the gap before the transition from the tradition to the modern politics had a very big gap ibore no bwito liteda nesa kironu jiji esine lo poto takando kidingane from 70s 60s kaungina where the transitions of government abuo ina kide tungai boyo camp achono to camp o kambi na raia boyshon so ationi kitido a transition arai I handing ara ya ikini duelwa lo aturia na kwana eja utenelo apendo totori ingareno kolo kwa icon ajau totere do kwa ni duelwa kwana epedorta ruchoki na solution akwana kedeno akolose tetere lo si epedor doti kwa na lo stingare so that transition had a very big gap so idumundo ojo kwa ni duelwa kwana Apollo 2 mamejene tebonde what used to be there and how are we now in between there was something that transpired so they don't know that ilumujo kwa na kirotono esasida mamejene tagibore baka esas and ilumujo akirotono na mukia nido itagorong mamete do jene te kwa na parashan but now to move forward erado tikwa na oni anyun bonde can we incorporate cultural leaders tete reja sinu eja unosa okidingane nda opatana do cultural leadership silu are representatives at different structures opatana ngunu aiguo bonde no akiro ni so amasi kesino ikosi tunga ikorsa ibenao no kana ikoni ne kwana now oso do kwana do alosite ngaren otomoponelo aigua ikine bod aduku ni cultural institution lo this cultural institution should be given governance to manage a regional institution arai regional productive factories arai nyo borokata are there asilu apugan but they should be having a upper hand to control it to manage since be ejaye kwa na Teso kwa penat kwa na ite on a flying school around kwa na be balate ameje konye idumuni jobon be biane airstrip la polo unio alajo kabale around kwanaje international airport ya piangitakin. But we are not together to I lip aja un be promoting our nyone sorority flying school. Also the meat packers. Meat packers used to be there. Ardeja ipapo Maria. Tikwa naona ibu makini ka ukiasota tema bonbe kona isai. Now just kwa naona kede tonga lu ingare no ko lu ibua ikita adoke tangun. How can we push ibua ikito se mori ngaren educated bonbe konaksone such that teteremamu kui ite bonbe e just do kwa na kui to develop tribalism nyo kwangen. Konye it is a national concern. On the fraud lay low. Also educate boro adoke tatana. Also di konye tetedo yalama boni be ida also adomu sorority city nyo kwangeni boro sorority city. But do we have strategies to grasp or to get contracts to a poto ngare kwape city? Do we have those companies registered locally? But we have not even come together anyun bonbe wadikaun kanoni the company to compete with other outside companies reported on the koto sode rotolo. So iboro tikata unesti kwa niperona igwaikin in place through adoketa anu kwa na ijaroni. Sorority University is there. Konye to my disappointment of Teso, you will find bonbe ikidio kidwe lo Teso lo muntoso Tese jasi toma. Lu abo isiache kesi kwa na kata to dominate the university. Don't be scholarships nani neroni. So how can we move from that? Aremamo ni perai bumakin. Aso dai to soma adumu te sustula kirona agubu wa kere. Aneja inyo ai bumakina oko aneja ichu. Le ichu doti kwa na ai tigogongo ichu. Tete riti gogongi clan structures. Lo kopa ngina. Nesi don nesi tierare au kagogong. Ejiboro lui peloron to bargain ara lo state to lobby at a national level. Only a alama boni be ya kwanon da ke the second in command, kwanon da deputy speaker, but those are just the positions. But how can we take the advantage of those positions and on to benefit? If through us
yalama no eja kaita Samson korobera siangun berabo jani kwangen konya chamto bonebe oko sawero kilosi ido loso na lomato mosawa la washa local program and then atitunga kiro and I think my panelists here have started giving a way forward ebenunyo ka ebeti on aswam. Let me jet into the studios here. Moses, let me have a few minutes with you. In a reaction we come to see ngarnone atirota and at local governments. You also one of the people registered at local government level. I have the chairman 5 here at the local government level. Now, having what they call the work timeline, you know, what do you want to achieve for your people in Teso, districts, and even our leaders? Kopokwa na inerona, I hear and see meetings around. Dumija bakabeje meeting na ikone nerakiro je meeting na ikone ipuakiro, even with the integration of the cultural leaders. Now, oni iwota idu eja na kinene ja so kitunga idu without having the work plan, what we want to achieve in a specific time, and we are just there telling people that they are represented. They are represented. We have people who are supposed to work for our people, and also the mindset and the attitude towards what we are doing.
I think the political, organization is critical. To organize it politically, it will negotiate our politicians, but the people who have the base, it's the cultural. I've attended the election observation in Kenya more than twice. One of the key determinants in African election, right, is ethnicity, then region, then issues in that region. That people can rally up to the national level. I mean, my senior brother has talked about Kenya, but when you go into details, right, Kenya, highly governed in terms of the in the constitution at the national level konyo bonguni kwap e mama se onelo story teso toma do jenero belola na ilos bosa se kun seven ilos ayaun iboro dala nyamita ilo itonga erai more than 4 trillion konye titunga ine rutos e per up going to commit 1 trillion nara tunga le jate so there are more than 3 million people. Charles and the listeners and my seniors and my elder brothers here. In anything, yeni mame position, araida ibu jaswamuni, inisio jobonbe, what is your expectation in terms of the salary? Whoever is appointed for an affairs, works, where a seutai at the personal level, mama tekerai accountable. Araida lole kote minister, aolior paka after 5 years. Mam 7 ebune engitene body bochole aulio nara ne sasa utungai bochole konyene perota itunge nerum itunge perota achamana biso because of being so not a nerum. Let me tell you, I recall yara imam ebune transition ajauni Uganda, the political transition inga ilo so lego ikiri ngaren kapa lego ikiti ititonga. What is the welfare law at tekana Teso? Mike in your Charles and the listeners. So it's really important for it to connect the bottom and the top. Allow people politically be there, but strategically, I'll take care of kwap. One reason I can tell you, in the 5 years, inyoibori ikanyili se oton kapateke for political negotiation. Inyoibori is se oton. Yes, the speaker will chair the house and say it will be a budget. If the Minister of Finance says bebambeti kapun, it ceases on adumni sirigin. Konyara a political negotiation. For an example, limon will be basically say it so you basically koneja pugan. In your 5 years, or tachaso 1 trillion. Ditubu bojo tachabo so the 2nd trillion. 50 billion. Lo out na compensation na ima makota cha aregueli I took nisirigi na kwatakai 500 itaka ludidika donoi that will be 200,000 cows. The population of Soroti district is more than 150,000. So if you do the mathematics omame loyale marikapun be verification igwele ja itenge na 1 million igwele yo 100,000 cows with the 50 billion lele mutapugan omame twenele balabe yongo igaraman. I know of our leaders we just got the motokana like 800 million 600 million. Now I took 100,000 cows. You are compensating a region of over 3 million people. Ile muje Teso la kerete kayonga and they are not documented lo kerete busia ila lo mante ne lango busoga, they are not. So in total ibucha ino ni between 3,000 to 5 million. Dojo alem ni sirigin 50 billion as government. My friend, a big joke. I took 100,000 cows. I took 1 million. Arere tak, you are now compensating 200,000 people. All right, you need to end. I record it koda uno. I went. Konyera mama berli weni jo motimoti. There are only 100,000. Pick for districts. Doja lemunu a population very low. A political itunga beri kere ngunu le omta be wadi kauna. Esari miloni ni uni. La omta be wadi kauna. Double dilu mame wadi kauna. Nara in the region at a mame's vision. Mami tunga ba nei nerasi. I not taken. But even 5 have their own issues in fighting, blah blah, bitijo. They are not concentrating on real issues. So ara mami tunga no kwap lui etwa ngare noni angare ida imami dai kino kwam imami dai kino convoy e bongore ngare noni ngoni itunga no kwape monye tebe koskoko alemu na tiokso mitunga no kwap. And one of the key fundamental things for bet alemu was compensation. After compensation, a moving it on egwaikin industrialization, industry sajaun all over the region. maminda swiskere pedorete a jaun soroti boni ara idi go ikini bia bo kwane tone lo ngora eto lo bukedia eto la kai ineto ni no agriculture e pedori etwene to buy a walkable tractor ari go ikine display ne soroti e buniko di kemiloni ni uni ogweli even e mate ke wara go center e rienguna ko los kapana ko la kemisiri mamji wena mo paran. All that requires leaders who are engaged, I mean companies from China, from Europe, to come and open a branch to display tractors. In a roundabout each other. Mosi district na kode I mean center Sulikinyo. Etwena kotagwele enyanya kapane tepedo edo petini la 10,000. You must ride a piki from Ngora Pakachela.
So now, Moses, what do we see now here in these meetings that you've had? That meetings about Teso. We had even a meeting at the university here. We had a meeting, and people were asking themselves that somebody would believe that in any platform in Era Krono Teso, we would be having people from even opposition. We have the heads of engineer Patrick Kamrato Boy, the Honorable Lassos.
I'm coming to that point.
Yes.
You see, in a radio about Uhuru Kenyatta. Uhuru Kenyatta, Mamera a very strong leader. A very, very strong. The Kikuyu, a Gogo Adepa, and even Elim Tube or Seutuso Domo, Jakaino. Ibu Kwanjo de Kalenjina, Tulamutukwesida, Jakati Ruto. Ruto William, the deputy president. Even them now they are mounting pressure. Ibu jo o nine de luo. Abasiru ya bebodinga agogo papake. Ebodinga da kone kotikoni nyo ogogo. It shows you the projection, the strength of Ateke. I mean political discussions. Lumamu itungi kamuto tarao miso mitunga. Bie basi tunga lo kaplebio, basi wala muria, basi wala serer, basi wala soroti city. A meeting le rise selective, and the biggest problem, you to collect the views, also you to attach, you must be a cadre, you must be known. Issues of Teso, our political party is Teso. When they are discussing the Teso politics, they never akirono Teso. I mean, Kaiboro le bait Tesa Gov't. Teso must organize themselves. And I want to say this, Araimam Teso Amplon Benson, Elosa Omomun quest that Adukuna Kecha to court. Ne perotal quest that politically Aradai Empisa Kaisamon Boeta Rabet, a Genuna Pugane e Bunibe, we need a dialogue with Teso. It will look at what say Ilu, Amame na Potone Boy Kinos, as sort of a chamal capate, Bosse Utobore, Bosse Utobo, as say it in Chapaki, chess it and Nagula Kerda. Chama Sauta, Baka Bobiajoni, Narai, Apuganina, a Jenbi Morkina Ditunga, a young Itunga, or sorted Itunga to issue, a Kabakalo of Uganda, a Janunaso February and March, Iguan Kinekata Jake corrugation, Iguan Kine January, or so that Latin came message, Lemoneka Jack Lachet, or so that I'm opening a new year. Osode ekati kirobu ganda. I mean Peter Maiga. I saw mo ari points wangon. Lwe beiti apuganina atopaki. Mamida on aparasari pupu jobonbe. Ube Museveni meets the king of Buganda. Benyakalanta it was called the envelope. Baso aina kiniboro. We are talking about education fund. We are talking about scholarship. How can a government ignore a region where the vice president comes from, a region where the Central Executive Committee comes. Yes, the Army Commander. You have the SEC people who hear. I think we are jokers. Then you
Vice President of
Foreign Affairs.
A vice president can pick a phone call and call a scholarship controller and tell him that please, I want you to add me 1,000. The controller will adjust from other schools. Arianga runa mliango akwatare. Inani mlianga kwa takisaka utia kuna kaisaka nituketa for interest power mame kora as sani da inyam power is seen by actions of the leaders. How are they going to transform the region politically? So I think Kapateker, let's identify issue as a tool, alright, a nonok, let's task them to account. Ole masingunda ibori diwene le muno anyamar. And we promote her to court and we respect her to court. And political actors from FDC, FDP, all political parties, and the NRM must accept borene sorry. Be down on Nadia Kanu, even any ranimo jongoni, Mamoni Pedore, and it down no si karikan, we may be elected at a Pakitakara Soda Hawaii, Konye Kote Itun, which contribution, and I can tell it to be ya unkopane transition apugani. Inga ibilos on aseu, bogo ikiso, se koto Teso, e koto right Teso woro the meeting, e mereche tweni woro the meeting, dali moni yobe, bijuka kingobore, itimu ni are boliasi e mamele se une rifari konye machilo e se une rifari kute mpira e timu le se ute rifari e inya ne penalty se kotakana chana watu tokana papaka apalari ejie for positions, fight vice president, fight speaker, fight minister X, fight internal war benefits the enemy. So e kotona anyu kapatekena Teso, we must be strategically recognize kapitungalu ejatu kotokeje kotona achamun be our list likoto so itungali boeto all diaspora eli munu emuletingali mununu waja kaitubeni so and listeners imonyo ni political appointments konye aremami ina ino ni permanent secretaries kwese genete a budget ejaso pibiro egire PS be minister, honorable minister emameti sirigi e bake minister ngona ituku paka bongo because he's a political head alosta anye togole dukita imami to ni kapunda bikap elimono yobe olto anye roto jeli bokit sabim
je chairman it is finished.
So Charles,
okay,
in our discussion kapatekeri kotona amorun kapugani ene government ni buni inyobo beri bore elo meto ene Teso, how many presidential candidates go and visit them or more. So in our list tioni balabe ambassadors ejasi kostunga la idelo anga iboito UK o inaka awa pesa in ambassadorship ibiboye in South Africa in media ejasa sasa kwa sakero anga lo media center aswam kose local government eja katodongo o bibiro aseo anga PS and commissioner minister of local government. That is how you are going to build a region. That is how you are going to build that again. Kwenye mama tekerelosi only to depend on political appointments. Le pedori yet to wake up. Let me tell you, Perikopani Buganda to put pressure and tell the president be isoma musuru say eganga noob or in actual vice president. Yeah, the vice president can be moved, but the PS can be moved to another ministry. So the ministry still look kere ikiona kopana budget. Sa koto ngeta kiningo ka message e kotitunga apupoki na imonyo na itunga lokwap ibakorolo tinitos itunga from 1962 59 years erikosina chana okepere totogo elwanya erikosi bakoro egiritos iboro kobali karakaise una kaisare mametachi tai. Those are some of the things lo beito onda kapate care to rally to ensure the factory ne yauno the meat packers nyaka ino arapa agricultural institute nyaka kino as an independent institution.